Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Tessie. I'm sorry I've not been online for a while. I've been very busy, but today we'll be making this simple monoscrap dress. If you're yet to subscribe to my channel, kindly do that and let's get right into the video. So I'll be using this fabric. It is called a Duchess and I have 3 yards, but I ended up using just 2 yards for this project. You can use a Duchess, crepe, anyone is fine. So I folded my fabric into two. Now to know the amount of fabric to fold, now you have to determine how wide you want that flay part to be. That's the A line, how wide you want it to be. So after doing that, what I'll be doing next is chalking the starting point. So I'll go ahead now to chalk my starting point. So this line will serve as my shoulder line. So I'll take my shoulder measurement divided by 2. My shoulder is 15 inches. Divided by 2 will give me 7.5. So I went ahead to chalk my 7.5. And on that point, I'll come down to my armhole line, which is 8 inches. So I came down by 8 inches and I'll go ahead to connect the lines together. So what I'll do next is chalk from the shoulder to the bust point. So from the shoulder to the bust is 10 inches. So I went ahead to connect it into a straight line. After doing that, I'll be chalking from the shoulder to the waistline. So from the shoulder to the waist is 17 inches. I went ahead to connect it into a straight line. So what I'll be doing next is chalking from the shoulder to the length of the dress. So from the shoulder to the length of the dress is 38 inches. I'll be adding extra 2 inches for folding allowance. So I'm chalking 40 inches at the down part and I'm going to connect it into a straight line. So I have my lines. So I have my shoulder line, my armhole, my bust point, my waist, and my gown length. So for the neckline, I will not be cutting any neckline for now. So I'm just going to come down by 1 inches for my shoulder slope. So after coming down by 1 inch, I'm just going to connect the lines together. So after doing that, I'll check what I have at the chest line area. So I have 7 inches divided by 2 will give me 3.5, which I chalked. And on that point, I'll come in by half an inch. After doing that, I'm just going to curve in my armhole. So what I'll be doing next is at the chest line area, I'll place my bust measurement divided by 4. So my bust divided by 4 will give me 10 inches, which I chalked and I added 2 inches for sewing allowance. So I'll go ahead now to connect the line to the bust point. On the waist area, I'm going to take my waist measurement divided by 4. My waist divided by 4 is 8 inches. And I'll be adding extra 2 inches for sewing allowance. So I'll go ahead now to connect my lines together. So from the bust point, I'll connect it to the waist. So I forgot to indicate my hip line because this dress is tight at the hip area, so I need to chalk out my hip line. So from the waist, I'm just going to place my tape and chalk my hip line. So the hip is 10 inches thereabouts. I'll go ahead now to connect it into a straight line, and on that hip line I'll be placing my hip measurement divided by 4 inches, and I'll be adding extra 2 inches for sewing allowance. So my hip divided by 4 is 11, and I'll be adding extra 2 inches for sewing allowance. So from my waistline, I'm going to connect it to the hip line, and from that hip line, I'm just going to go a line. So I'm just going to give it a flay. It's not a straight dress, so I'm just going to make it a flay. So you determine how wide you want it to be. For me, I want it very wide. So this is what I did. And after doing that, you can decide to curve the down part, but I just choose to leave it this way. So I'm just going to connect the lines for you guys to see proper. So after doing that, this is what it looks like. So I'll go ahead now to cut out my fabric. So we are done with the front part of the dress. For the back, I folded my fabric into two. Note, I am not adding zip at the center back. I'll be adding my zip at the side of the dress. In case you are adding zip, leave your allowance for your zip before placing your front pattern on the back. So since I am not adding a zip at the center back, my front and my back is going to be equal. So I'm just going to place it together this way, and I'll go ahead now to cut it out. So after cutting it out, this is what I have. As you can see, I have two pieces, one for the front and one for the back. So I went ahead to open it up and I'll place them together, right side facing each other. Go ahead, place them together. So now you need to choose where you want to take off. Do you want to take off the right side or the left side? It all depends on your preference. For me, I'm just going to be working with this side of the fabric. So what I'll do is from the shoulder area, I'm just going to chalk out 4 inches. So as you can see, I chalked out 4 inches, and from that 4 inches line, I'm just going to be curving my hand into the armhole. So you determine how deep you want it to be. It all depends on how deep you want your monoscrap to be. So for me, I don't want it too deep, so I'm just going to be mindful while sketching out the area I'm taking off. So I'm just trying to sketch out that part. My fabric is a bit hard to work with, so I don't know if you guys can see. I'm just going to try to make the line visible. So as you can see, I sketched and I blended it into the armhole. You can see where it went into the armhole. So after doing that, you can go ahead now to cut out your fabric. So after cutting, this is what I have, as you can see. So I'll go ahead now to cut out my sleeve. So for my sleeve, I chopped 20 inches for the length and I added 2 inches for folding allowance because I'll be attaching elastic to the down part of the sleeve. So altogether, I have 22 inches. So as you can see, the length of the sleeve is 22 inches. So what I'm doing next is using my free hand to draw out my armhole curve. I'll be dropping a detailed tutorial on how to achieve a basic sleeve. But for this, I'm just using my free hand to curve out my armhole. So what I'm doing next is just checking if I'm on the right track, which I am. So I'm just trying to sketch it out proper for you guys to see. So after doing that, I'm going to be cutting out my sleeve. So guys, this is what it looks like. So I'm just going to notch the middle part of my sleeve and we're good to go. So I'll go ahead now to fold the down part of my sleeve because I'll be adding elastic to it. So what I'll be doing now is using my bias to tone the neckline area. So as you can see, I'm just going to place my bias on my fabric and stitch and turn. I'll do the same thing for this part as well. So after doing that, as you can see, this is what it looks like. So I'm just going to place the fabric together, right side facing each other. Place them together and stitch 1/2 inch on the shoulder area. So what I'll be doing next is attaching my sleeve to my dress. So as you can see, I folded the down part of my sleeve. So what I'll do now is just attach the sleeve to the dress. After doing that, this is what I have. I went ahead to pin my fabric together. So I'll go ahead now to shape my dress, and also I'll be adding elastic at this part of the sleeve. And after shaping, I'll open the side and attach my zip to it, and this is the final result of the dress. As you can see, this is a very simple DIY dress. Hope this tutorial was helpful. Please do not forget to subscribe to the channel, like this video, drop a comment, and I will see you guys in my next class. And kindly follow me on Instagram as So We Test. For now, I'll say bye.